This episode of the Launch Your Teens podcast is brought to you by getintomedschool.com. Getintomedschool.com, for 25 years making college student applications to law, medical, business, and grad school the best they can be. Get a free 50-minute consultation at getintomedschool.com. You're listening to episode 6 of the Launch Your Teens podcast, where we help parents of students ages 12 to 26 set their kids up to graduate college completely debt-free, ready to jump directly into careers they excel at and love, even if they don't get a single scholarship. I'm your host, Jeannie Berlowski. If you're parenting a middle schooler, a high schooler, or a college student right now, I can almost guarantee you that this thought has crossed your mind at some point. What if my son turns out to be one of those guys who wants to live in his childhood bedroom throughout his 20s, never getting a job that allows him to fully support himself in his own place? What if my daughter never completes the developmental task of growing her own talents, abilities, and gifts and strengths enough to get a well-paying full-time job? And what if she just sits on our couch and plays on her phone throughout her 20s? I know you've heard the horror stories. You've heard of loving moms and dads who sacrifice for years only to find themselves in their 50s stressed and anxious over unkempt 20-something children, still sleeping in their childhood beds, getting up past noon, lounging afternoons away on parent couches, helping themselves to food from their parents' refrigerators, and then staying up long hours into each night gazing into the flickering blue screens of online video games. You know, there are hundreds of thousands of parents living this nightmare every day. Whether your kid is in middle school right now or much older, what can you do to avoid becoming that parent? Today, I'm going to give you one sentence that you can start using right now that can head this problem off at the pass. Starting this week, try to work this sentence into family conversation from time to time. Say it a little more often during high school, always with a cheerful, upbeat tone in your voice. Ready? Here's the sentence. We will be glad to provide free room and board for you after your high school graduation, as long as you're enrolled in and making successful progress through a full-time academic or job training program. Let me say that again because I know you're going to want to memorize it. We'll be glad to provide free room and board for you after your high school graduation, as long as you're enrolled in and making successful progress through a full-time academic or job training program. Cheerfully plant this message in your child's head from time to time during grades 7 through 12, and you'll greatly increase the probability that your child will start moving toward independent adulthood soon after high school graduation. What you're doing by saying this is creating a boundary that can really come through and save you later on. Now, for anyone listening today who's got kids 12th grade or older, let's talk about how we refine and clarify this message further as kids get older. Let's say that your daughter's a senior in high school and it doesn't look like she's moving toward academic or job training after high school. What can you do? You don't want to be mean. You don't want to be unfeeling or sarcastic. You don't want to threaten to throw her out. That could cause even worse problems. What you could do is start cheerfully talking about a plan for her to move out. Always cheerfully, always empathetically. You could start showing her pictures of trailers for rent on Craigslist. You could say things like, I'm not crazy about wood paneling from the 1970s either, but I think you could make it cute with some curtains and a nice plant. Talk animatedly about how much fun it could be to find 3 roommates so that rent on a 2-bedroom apartment could be split 4 ways. Express confidence in her that if she works enough full-time hours at McDonald's or the local grocery store, she'll be able to pay for her own rent and food and utilities and phone service and a bus pass, as long as she budgets very carefully. Invite her to sit down with you and make a budget that can make all of this happen, and be positive and supportive and upbeat as you do so. When your daughter starts to get a clear picture of herself working 60 hard hours a week, taking the bus everywhere and having no money left over for buying clothes or eating out, she might just decide that academic or job training is actually a good idea. Now, if your daughter has committed to attending college or job training in the fall after her high school graduation, you might tell her this. Tell her that she's welcome to live with you rent-free during that summer between high school graduation and the following fall, as long as she's working full-time and as long as she shows you that she's putting a large chunk of money into college savings every 2 weeks during that summer. If you're wondering how much money your daughter can earn without damaging or diminishing future college financial aid awards, be sure to listen to episode 5 of this podcast. Now, what do you do if you've got kids ages 19 and up who want to live at home with you, even though they're not enrolled in full-time academic or job training programs? In our time remaining, let's look at 4 suggestions that come from parenting experts, such as one of my favorites, Dr. Charles Fay of loveandlogic.com. Number 1, parenting experts suggest that you require hefty rent payments from adult children who aren't in full-time school or job training. You might tell your child early on that if he's not enrolled in a full-time academic or job training program, he can live with you under the following conditions. He works at a job that he finds himself. He covers all his own expenses. He pays you fair market rate for the room and board you provide for him. In the Minneapolis area where I live, this fair market rate rental fee would be about $935 a month. In the Chicago area, it would be about $1,692 per month. Figure out early on how much a 1-bedroom apartment costs in your area on average and write that number down nice and big so your son or daughter can plan ahead. If you live in Chicago and he or she plans to not be serious about college or job training, he'll have to work 51 hours a week at the Illinois minimum wage in order to afford that rent. Number 2, require that adult children living at home provide their own transportation. This could be a bicycle or a bus pass, or it could be car payments, gas, oil, insurance, and all necessary auto maintenance. Your son can choose whichever he prefers. Number 3, require that adult children living at home treat everyone in your house with kindness and respect. If your son or daughter can't honor this very reasonable request, I hope you feel really good about cheerfully making a plan for their move-out day. Number 4, require that adult children in your home live under your house rules. You might want to write up a little document and post it on a cupboard door. You could make it say something like this, and this is going to be a little different for every family, that any adult living in your home after high school graduation will cheerfully help with grocery shopping, meal preparation, and an adult level of household chores. He will keep his room clean and come home each night by 11 o'clock p.m. so you won't worry, and have no overnight guests without prior permission. Now, many parents who hear this are going to bellow. Are you kidding? What 18 to 24-year-old kid is going to want to live under those conditions? Exactly. Our goal is to treat our children with deep and tender love at every point on their growing up journeys, but at the same time make mom and dad's soft padded nest just uncomfortable enough that the little birds can't wait to fly. Now, I want to add one little extra piece to all of this. If your 20-something child is responsible and respectful and helpful and asks to live with you temporarily in order to pay off student loans as quickly as possible, please say yes to this if you can. Please say yes when your 20-something son says, "Can I live with you rent-free as long as I can show you I'm paying an extra $1,500 on my student loans each month?" I tell college students, get out from under those student loans as fast as you can. Sleep on a thrift store cot in your parents' basement. Work 3 jobs. Set a goal of doing whatever it takes to pay off 100% of your student loans in 3 years or less. If your daughter wants to show this kind of diligence and responsibility, then please do let her live at home. as long as she's responsible, respectful, helpful, and fun to live with. If you'd like to learn more about how to help young adults thrive and fly in their 20s, please read the article I've written that highlights the book, The Defining Decade: Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them Now. It is an outstanding resource for parents and for students ages 18 to 29. Read my article about this book and I'll tell you some of my favorite quotes from it, and I'll put the link in the show notes. If you have a student who's currently got student loan debt, please see my article, How to Kiss Student Loan Debt Goodbye. I'll put a link to that in the show notes too. If you've enjoyed today's episode, you can get the show notes, including all the links I've just mentioned, at jeannieberlowski.com/podcast. Just look for episode 6. You can also join our cause. Become a part of our mission to get high-quality, debt-free college and career training into the hands of as many families as possible. You can become a part of what we're doing in 3 ways. First, share this podcast on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or however it is you like to share content. And then second, please post a rating or a review of this podcast on iTunes. Every review helps us to increase our rankings and create more awareness of the help we offer here. Third, please consider becoming a day or month sponsor of this program by supporting my work for as little as $2 a month on patreon.com. Your support helps me bring free help to low-income families who could never afford to pay for it. Learn more at patreon.com/debtfreecollege. To get additional help from me delivered straight to your email inbox every Monday morning, do 2 things. First, sign up for my free email updates at jeannieberlowski.com, and then second, whitelist me so my emails won't accidentally get misdirected into some folder you never check. You can find easy whitelisting directions at bit.ly/whitelistberlowski, and that link is in the show notes too. I'm Jeannie Berlowski, author of the book that is the comprehensive guide to debt-free college and career launch: How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. Available on Amazon at bit.ly/Berlowski. To learn about everything I provide that helps parents get kids through college debt-free for free, be sure to listen to episode 1 of this podcast. Thanks again for joining us at Launch Your Teens. Please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at @jberlowski. Until next time, remember, with just a little help, you can get the kids you care about through college debt-free and into jobs they love afterward. Hey, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you're seeing me in my studio recording the podcast that other people only hear on audio on iTunes or anywhere else high-quality podcasts are found. To keep seeing me here on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and subscribe below. Note that information provided by Jeannie Berlowski, jeannieberlowski.com, and the Launch Your Teens podcast is for general informational purposes only. Because an academic strategist cannot control student grades, test scores, individual family situations, or how well or how thoroughly parents follow offered suggestions, no representation, warranty, or guarantee can be made, and no liabilities assumed regarding any individual's ability to graduate college debt-free or succeed in career or in life. The author and publisher of this material are not engaged in rendering legal, accounting, financial planning, or other professional service, and therefore do not assume and hereby disclaim any liability to any party for any loss, damage, or disruption caused by errors or omissions, whether such errors or omissions result from negligence, accident, or any other cause. Seek the advice and counsel of a properly licensed attorney, accountant, certified financial planner, or other licensed professional for specific guidance on how to apply these principles to your family's individual financial situation.